Domino's stock performed better than Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Apple.
But there was one topic we haven't gotten to, which is about evolving and cannibalizing your own business for the future. Do you have any good stories or examples about that?
This is a critical element. The best work on this is the late Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma, and the necessity for all of us to be aware that what has worked to date will not necessarily work going into the future, and don't be past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. To paraphrase what one also always sees with the materials that come with different mutual funds and so forth, or investment portfolios. It's critically important that we recognize the evolving landscape of business and how fast change is coming, and the many great businesses that once were that are no longer as a result of not being able to kind of cross that chasm to a new way of operating. And so, there are a litany of once leading companies. The best performing stock of the S&P for the 1980s was Circuit City. I can't remember if we've talked about this story before or not, Joel, but best performing stock in the S&P 500 only went public in 1984. So in less than 6 years, returned more than 8,000% to those who participated in the IPO. Super successful in the 1990s. CarMax, among other companies, are born out of it because of that success. In 2001, they're featured in Good to Great, Jim Collins' classic tome. 01, 09, they're liquidated. And, part of the story there is not recognizing some of the dynamics of what were coming to pass in the aughts, the early 2000s, that shaped their outcome for them. And we need to be humbled by stories like that. A Blockbuster, one of the best performing stocks of the 1990s that couldn't pivot based upon where digital business was going, is another prominent example of many that we could state or come up with together. I think, there are a number of companies that have done remarkable jobs of reinventing themselves, and that digital mediums and digital engagement being at the center of that. One thing is that Domino's Pizza is one of the great examples of one of the best performing stocks. That in the last decade, 2010 to 2020, Domino's stock performed better than Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Apple. Just an interesting fun fact. Yes, and part of it was, admittedly, in 2010, it was not a great stock, so it was not performing particularly well. You can argue, of course, that the starting point helps, but nevertheless, that point is not, that passes quickly when you see just how well they did. And a lot of it, part of it was also a recognition that their product was not what it once should be, what it should be, rather. The CEO, in fact, had a national ad campaign where he apologized to customers for sucking. We're sorry for sucking. So pretty significant mea culpa there that was basically suggesting, look, we're going to get the product better. Obviously, that's first and foremost. Without that, forget all the other things. So they worked on the product, but they also worked on the technology behind it and ensured that, I'll fast forward to part of the kind of punchline here, the technology, they insourced a lot of what was once outsourced, recognizing those aspects that were most strategic. They created basically the ability for customers to interact with the company how they wished, as opposed to dictating it to them. So early adopters of, being able to Slack with Domino's or text with Domino's, the ability to have pizza delivered to somewhere without an address, a beach or a park, and have it find you. Order, contactless order and pickup, but also, reducing the number of steps to order your pie, especially if you got sort of like consistent order that you want coming every Friday. And so just really rethinking the experience for customers, leveraging digital tools in super creative ways. And let me add, Joel, they were one of the enormous success stories during the pandemic as well, for their ability to pivot so quickly for the digital channels that they had already put in place. It was actually not that much of it in an industry that was one of the hardest hit of all, restaurants. It was one of the quickest to pivot towards actually increase sales through the early part of the pandemic, interestingly enough. And so, and then on top of it, developed kind of this sexiness to the brand from a tech perspective, such that this company based in suburban Detroit became sort of a landing place for a lot of really talented tech folks. So anyway, I mean, there are a number of examples like that of companies that had gone, done very well, had a humbling, and then recognized something needed to change, with tech and digital being an important ingredient in that change. And so that's one of several that I can offer, but one of my favorites anyway.